Welcome to INKOSHO in Conversations. My name is Chibesa, founder of INKOSHO. Today, I have a panel discussion on education. We have Olga from Mexico, Elisa from Colombia, Audrey, Kenyan British, George, South African, Barath from India, and Demi from China. And we aim to address some of the key challenges in education. This panel means business when it comes to education. Thank you guys once again for just accepting to come and be part of this, and it's really a privilege to have you all today. I'm so excited. I mean, you know how I'm passionate about INKOSHO and this particular platform, INKOSHO in Conversations, so really thank you so much. And education, both informal and informal, is very core for what INKOSHO is all about. And great philosophers such as Aristotle have mentioned that, education is the bedrock for social and economical development. So it's really timely and engaging that we should have this conversation together. So, yeah.
Thank you, Chibi.
Thank you, Chibi.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So lovely. So, George, what do you think is the definition of education?
It's a good question. I think, obviously, the definition of education is so broad, but what it essentially boils down to is continual learning and developing the knowledge and skills throughout your life, and not just in the school, necessarily regurgitating information onto a page. It's all about, just being able to learn, but also to use your creativity and imagination, and being curious. That's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to add on. I don't know if you have heard about neuroplasticity. So neurons that wire together, fire together. So it's very relevant that even though we are adults, it doesn't mean that we have to stop studying or learning. Mm-hmm. So it's practicing and practicing, trying to make our brain making different connections, because we are so interconnected in people or disciplines that we sometimes forget all the amazing and incredible connections that we can do.
It's interesting you say that, Olga, because when I was at school as a young child, I always kind of thought when I finish school, then I finish learning, it's going to be great, then I can start working and earning.
And I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I always wonder how many kids are still thinking like that.
The opposite end of that argument is that even people who are well into their 90s, their hundreds, people like my grandma, she's 97, and even she will say, you should learn something new every single day. And she said, even at my age, I never imagined that I had stopped learning. I never imagined that it was over. And they say that, I have to find the study, but they say that one of the good ways to ward off illnesses of age, such as dementia, Alzheimer's, etc., is to keep learning. So they'll encourage people to do crosswords, Sudoku, things that really tax certain parts of your mind to keep those neurons firing.
I really love the idea that to keep learning whenever it is, even you are an adult.
That's right.
And it doesn't relate to your age. But when I was a child, I had a not very good experience in learning things, because all of the courses and all of the lectures are designed by the education system. I didn't get the opportunity to choose the courses that what I like. And when I start learning that, all the teachers, all the parents, the pressure is all on getting a higher mark. And then I gradually lose the interest and my motivation, my passion about learning. And then I just transfer all my concentration to getting a higher mark only. And it's the whole education system is like destroy all my passion towards learning.
I'm glad that you make that point, Demi. I think what the current world's globalization is doing is that it has a very strong influence on the education system. And I see that many countries see education as a strategic means of achieving economic well-being. So what that is doing is it's increasing the competitions amongst different institutions, as well as education system within an institution as well. So oftentimes that is seen as the academic performance is as a paramount. So what this does is, it actually compromises a lot of ability and cause a lot of disability, in children. So like Demi actually mentioned that there is this increased pressure that the institutions have to provide academic performance that actually compromises a lot of the ability of kids it stops them from pursuing a lot of creativity as well as their ability to do many things.
I think it's very interesting because I have been reading about Finland and how they are addressing education problems. So now in their institutions, they don't have like this test. They encourage people and children especially to be more creative, to have more time to work and to be a kid, because it's the only time when they could do this, and that encourages also creativity. And I think it's very important because when we are kids, we have a lot of creativity and we lose it through the education system. But in Finland, they're trying to encourage children to be always thinking, always playing, and especially, for example, I have read that teachers in Finland, they have to be masters, so they have knowledge about how to teach other students and how to teach kids especially. So it's really interesting their model.
It is.
So they're masters of what? Masters of...
In education.
In education.
Yeah, in education.
Wow.
And especially in science. So what they're doing in this moment is that kids only go to school when they are 7, because they think that the first years they should go to a preschool, and preschool is also free in Finland. So children in preschool just go and have fun with kids, they socialize, they encourage them like really to socialize and to develop some skills that are really important for your future life. And then at the age of 7, they begin and they go to primary school and they begin learning how to read or how to do maths. But the best thing is that they are not assessed. I mean, the teachers, it's a very personalized teaching, so the teacher knows exactly the needs of the kids. And for example, when someone is struggling in one of the topics, the teacher is there to help the children, because usually in other education systems, what they do is that they take apart the kid that is struggling, and they so this kid doesn't go like in the same way with the other ones.
Your topic is very related to Pygmalion effect. Pygmalion effect is, it could be explained like you will perform according to the expectations. So those kind of kids who are not as good as others are separated. So teachers are not paying attention and are only reinforcing that negative cycle. If people are provided with the same opportunities to try, to succeed, probably they will not be the same, but achieve their maximum potential. So it's also a matter of finding motivation and providing the opportunities to people to give it a try.
Absolutely.
In parallel with what Elisa is saying, as well as Olga, is the fact that nowadays there's this one-size-fits-all education system, where it's almost like a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
Children come in, they're sorted and packaged according to their intelligence.
That's right.
But nowadays, I think it's so important for us to tailor subjects to what people enjoy and what skills people require outside of school and what they require in the workplace. It's empathy, it's problem solving, it's enterprise. It's all these kind of intangible skills that can't be taught in the classroom, that need to be taught in the classroom, because that's where the future is.
It's interesting you say that, but what is actually stopping us from doing that then? I mean, it sounds very much easy. Everything that you're saying is really good, but what's really stopping us then?
I feel that there is a notion in the education institution that academic performance is same as intelligence and skill.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so what that is creating is there is an immense pressure to perform academically well, but the child inherits a lot of other skills and capabilities while they're born. As one of the quotes from Picasso says that it goes in the line like every child are born artists, and the problem is how many actually remain as artists when they grow up.
It's so true.
Because the system is designed in such a way that everyone sees the child's performance or intelligence based upon their academic performance. And even as parents, as I grew up, there is so much emphasis on performing well. And even the institution and even parents to a certain degree think that their child is very intelligent if they're getting good scores and not otherwise. But as Demi mentioned, some children are interested in certain subjects, what they want to study, but they're equally intelligent. But the child is not recognized of their intelligence and their talent. So most of the time that happens, that the child actually ends up being demotivated, and that also creates a self-doubt within the child whether they're capable enough.
Building on what you said about just because you're getting straight A's doesn't mean you're actually smart.
Yeah.
So you might be very book smart, You're very
Yeah.
good at passing tests.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we ended up here. And there's also a balance between public schools and private schools because they have different motivations in some ways. Public schools tend to have much bigger class sizes. The teachers are under immense pressure to achieve certain scores, to remain within certain school districts or certain classification of type of school, etc. Whereas private schools are run very much like businesses. Their job is to create profit. And so they have smaller class sizes, sure, but as Elisa said, the difficult kids are almost corralled away and put in different classes all together, which is actually not the best way to do it, in my opinion. You should put the ones who are struggling the most with the ones who find it easiest, because then they can help in a kind of mentoring kind of relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that if you took away some of that pressure and you took away some of the box ticking exercises to say, oh, well, you didn't achieve this classification, therefore your school's now been relegated to the bottom of the pile of public schools. I think that focusing more on, did the child develop? Did they learn any skills? Never mind if they passed the test in the way you wanted, or they got straight A's, or they got... And this goes back to the parents as well, because my parents were the same.
God bless our parents. We love them though. We love them.
PTSD. Honestly, the pressure to perform. And then most of the schools I went to, I was on a scholarship as well, which meant that I was getting pressure from my parents, and then I was getting pressure from the institution to show that I had deserved that scholarship.
And from yourself.
Oh, and from yourself. Exactly.
What happened between my friends is like, because the other children are learning piano or painting or whatever, dancing, and when the other parents see that and oh, my child should learn that too, and even the child doesn't like it, and they will spend all their spare time in learning the things they don't like, and kills their motivation.
And when they say, I don't really want to do this anymore, the parent says no.
So, I mean, do we think that the current education system actually crushes innovation based on the discussions that we're having?
I think it certainly does.
For sure.
And an ideal education institution is a place where it enhances a kid's perception and enables them to do many things.
Yeah.
And I think that is the education system. I think Finland actually incorporates most of that. They try to encourage and build the quality of perception in the child. And even the teachers over there actually enable the kids by identifying different talents and motivating them. And I think the biggest, I think the most unfortunate thing is you have a kid who is very talented, but then you don't identify the potential or the talent.
True.
And you just try to, it's like shoving the wrong peg in a wrong hole.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think the education system is trying too hard to do it.
There's a similar situation in Estonia, similar to Finland. They're also giving power to the teachers and the management of schools to drive the kind of education that they want to give to the students. Yeah. And it's all about fostering creativity, innovation, insight, and just giving them the freedom to express themselves. I think this is the most important thing with the future of education. We can't put people in boxes. It's about thinking outside the box.
For sure.
So if we kind of then say this is how the education system is, and then we start talking about, obviously when you finish your education you're then looking for work. So how organization embedding learning, I mean, is it similar to what we see in schools? Is there a difference there? On the last vlog we discussed INKOSHO's goal. If you missed this, please find some time to watch the introduction video. The vlogs will be available on YouTube and the INKOSHO website every 2 weeks.